Hey guys, Ben Taylor here with Raw Motivations. Wanted to come on here and talk to you about the lies that I believed. If you haven't already seen some of the others, today we're dealing with lie number 4. So we've got actually 4 videos before this that are talking about the lies that I believe, the cost of them, and the lies 1, 2, and 3. If you don't know me by now, I'm a self-aware narcissist that's on this platform and several others to provide awareness about narcissism and provide healing, growth, and change to people out there that have been in narcissistic abusive relationships. They're not sure how to heal. They're not sure how to change. They're not sure how to get out of that trauma bond where they're stuck mentally being like, hey, I know I shouldn't be with this toxic person, but I still want to go back. I still want to interact with this person. I still want to pick up the phone. I still want to call them. Or maybe they've gotten out of that trauma bond and they're living a life that's full of peace because they're not getting actively abused, but it's not peaceful because they're detoxing from an addiction to a person, an addiction that was forced on them, that was placed on them by another person's love bomb, their attitudes, everything like that. And so I work with different people, with survivors, with people who've been through narcissistic abuse, and I try to help them get to healing, growth, and change, to live lives and be free from those narcissists. I also talk every once in a while with narcissists. People say, hey, I think I have the traits. I think I have these type of personalities. I think this is what I've done. This is what I've struggled with. And I invite those people to reach out to me because I'm willing to try to help. I'm willing to say, hey, stop lying. Get into therapy. Let's work on this. Most of them don't come back. Most of them don't really want change. They just want a soothe. They just want a quick fix. They just want somebody to validate who they are. If you're a narcissist, you're a narcissist. If you're an abuser, you're an abuser. There's only one way to change, and that's being honest about who you are and focusing on that growth. So a lot of my life, I wasn't honest. I wasn't honest about who I was. I wasn't honest about how I interacted with different people. I wasn't honest about the things that I did. But some of the biggest lies that I was telling was not just to others, but it was to myself. You see, I had lies between myself and my wife. I had my lies between myself and affair partners, myself and my boss, myself and friends, myself and extended family. I had all these lies out there. But some of the most damaging lies that continued to change and shape my mindset to continue down that dark road was the lies that I was telling myself on a day-to-day basis. Lies that I didn't even realize were lies. What they actually were is they were a story. They were a thought. They were a action, a being, emotion that was underneath the surface that I thought, this is just what I believe. This is logic. This makes sense. But in reality, it was a lie. If you haven't had a chance to listen to the first 3 videos on the lies that I have, I can do this on my own. I am a good person. I deserve happiness. Those are the first 3 that we touched on. Today's number 4. And so number 4 was walking these miles with a backpack on my back, the 4th rock that I put in there symbolizing the lies. So as I walk around and I'm sweating from carrying these rocks, I can think, what is the cost? What is the price that I've paid for these lies in my life? And as I'm walking around thinking of it, I pick up rock number 4 and I put it in my bag, and the lie that I'm telling myself underneath the surface that I'm believing is that God is not good enough for me. And what that does is that causes doubt, and that causes fear. That causes a thought process in my life that ends up permeating 4 aspects of my life. My body, my physical aspect, my being, my relationship with God, my balance, my relationship with my wife and others, and my business, of how I work in the environment, the business I have, or how I work with other people. And so as I break that down, that God is not good enough for me, in my body, the aspect of that is God isn't going to satisfy or give me joy. So as a result, I have to take it. As a result, I have to go out and grab what I want. Because going back to lie number 3, I deserve happiness. I deserve this. So if God's not good enough, if He's not going to give me what I want, what I need, what I deserve, I'm going to go take it. I'm going to go take it in different aspects of what I eat, what I drink, who I talk to, how I feel, who I have sex with, all these different types of things. And if God's not good enough, that means I got to take it. That's what I thought. Didn't actively write this down and be like, oh, this is my mantra for the day. God's not good enough, so let's go get it. I didn't think that. This is not something that I knew was a lie. I went through this process with the Warrior Challenge, 30-day Warrior Challenge, Wake Up Warrior Challenge, going through and dealing with a lot of stuff for 30 days until I get to the end and I start doing this process and I'm like, what are the lies? And as I start to realize the lies, this one came out as number 4, that God is not good enough for me. So that's body, for being, so my relationship with God. Listen to this. If God isn't good enough, then what's the point of right or wrong? You see, if there's not a being, if there's not a supreme power, if there's not an authority, if there's not a moral compass for people out there, then what's the point? Then why does it matter? Who's to tell me that cheating on my wife is wrong? Who's to tell me that abusing another person is wrong? If there's no standard, if there's no goal, if there's no morality based on anything, then why does it matter? If God's not good enough to me, if He's not good enough for me to provide what I want, what I need, I'm just going to take it. And I'm going to do what I want. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I want. It doesn't matter what's going on. It doesn't matter what I do, because there's not a moral compass of thinking, hey, God's in control, and God said this is wrong. It doesn't matter. If God's not good enough, then who cares? In my balance, so my relationship with my wife and other people, nothing is good enough. If God's not good enough, nothing is good enough. Kayla will never be good enough. That thought process that if God's not good enough to give me what I want, then there's not going to be other people in my life that are going to be good enough to serve me and satisfy me. So as a result, you just got to get what you can get. You just got to focus on what you can focus on. You got to achieve what you can achieve, because it doesn't really matter. If you take off the morality, if you take off the idea of there being a right or wrong, then who cares? Do whatever. But I didn't think of that thought consciously of God's not good enough, but it came through in my actions. It came through in how I was living my life. That all these things, nothing was going to be good enough for me. The 4th one, balance. I have to do it on my own, in my way. Stuff isn't good enough for me. It just comes back to me. It comes back to, hey, you got no help. No one's coming to save you. No one's coming to help you. It's just you. All right, I got this. Because remember, I deserve it. I'm a good person, and I can do this. I'm a self-made man. I can do this on my own. So as a result, with business, still again, steamroll over people. We say, this is how we're going to do it. I don't care what you think. Not engaging with other people, not helping other people grow. I'm why should I? Why does it matter? It doesn't. That's the mindset. That's the thought of this lie that had permeated everything beneath the surface, and that I didn't realize was actually there. Because if God's not good enough for me, then why should I have anything to do with God? And that thought came out in my actions. Of how I treated my wife. Of how I treated other people. Of how I was abusive, emotionally, mentally. Of how I cheated on my wife. Of how I had multiple affairs. Of how I conducted myself in the business, in the restaurant. Of how I worked with other people. Of how I didn't care. It permeated so many different aspects. And I didn't have a clue what I was fighting. I didn't have a clue the system that I was in. I didn't have a clue the things that I was doing of how to stop this. How to stop it was to get below the surface and figure out, what is the story? What is the lie that I'm believing? And that was number 4. Hopefully this is helpful as far as trying to be vulnerable, trying to open up, trying to say, hey, this is some of the aspects that has changed my mindset, that has been a part of my life over the past years, or the past several decades, has been a part of my life that helped form and create me to be this person, this awful person. If you guys want to talk sometime to try to determine what are the lies you believe, what's the story that's underneath those feelings and emotions that you're thinking, that you're experiencing, that you don't know if it's true or if it's false, and you want to talk through that, click on the link down below. We'll love to be able to interact with you, be able to help you in any way that I can. If you're out there, listen to other aspects. We've got the podcast out, got Inspire and Motivate, which is part of Raw Motivations podcast. Also underneath Raw Motivations podcast is Narcissist versus Narcissist / Empath. That's on there as well. So me interacting with a friend of mine who's been in an abusive relationship. We'd love to have you interact. Just build awareness. Share some episodes. Communicate with other different people about what's going on. Because a lot of people don't have an awareness of narcissism. How its effect, how it hurts people. That's what I'm on here for. And to provide awareness, growth, healing, and change to people who've been in these situations.